Behind every NBA superstar, behind every highlight, every trophy, every contract, there's a story you rarely hear about. A story of survival, a story of pain, a story that starts far away from bright arenas and much closer to the struggle most people never escape. These are the stories of NBA players who came from nothing, homelessness, poverty, violence, and heartbreak, and still reached the top of the basketball world. These stories aren't just about basketball, they're about hope. Jimmy Butler is known today as one of the NBA's toughest competitors, but before the fame, before the millions, he was just a 13-year-old kid with nowhere to go. At 13 years old, Jimmy's mother looked him in the eyes and told him, "I don't like the look of you, you gotta go." Just like that, Jimmy Butler was homeless. For months, he drifted from couch to couch, staying with classmates who barely knew him. No father, no stability, no guarantee of a meal tomorrow. But Jimmy's life changed when a boy named Jordan Leslie invited him to play a simple pickup game. One day, after seeing Jimmy walk home alone in the dark, Jordan's mother said something that changed his life forever. "You can stay here as long as you need." With that small act of kindness, Jimmy found the family he never had. He didn't have expensive trainers. He didn't have elite camps. What he had was heart. He grinded his way through junior college, then earned a scholarship to Marquette, then fought his way into the NBA as the 30th pick. Today, Jimmy Butler is a six-time All-Star, Finals hero, and billionaire competitor, a man who built himself from absolutely nothing. Giannis's story doesn't start in an arena. It starts on the empty streets of Greece, with a hungry boy selling glasses, bags, and DVDs just to survive. Giannis was born to Nigerian immigrants who lived undocumented in Athens. That meant no medical care, no government support, no safety nets. Some nights, there simply wasn't enough food for the entire family. Giannis once said, "We would all go to sleep hungry, but we went to sleep together." As a child, he worked long hours street vending alongside his brothers. They had to choose between training and eating. Some days, they couldn't do both. When Giannis discovered basketball, he didn't have shoes. He and his brothers took turns wearing one pair during practice. But everything changed when a Greek coach saw something extraordinary in the tall, skinny Nigerian kid with endless energy. He took Giannis under his wing, gave his family food, transportation, support, things they never had. Fast forward, Giannis went from undocumented street vendor to the 15th pick in the NBA draft. He didn't just make the league. He became a two-time MVP, NBA champion, Finals MVP, and one of the greatest success stories in sports. Giannis didn't just escape poverty. He lifted his entire family out with him. Before LeBron James was a billionaire, before the championships, the MVPs, and the global fame, he was just a struggling kid from Akron, Ohio. LeBron and his mother Gloria moved constantly, sometimes 6, 7, even 10 times in a single year. Some nights, they had no home at all. There were weeks when LeBron didn't go to school because he didn't know where he would sleep the next night. He once said, "I was a kid with no stability. Basketball gave me a family." That family came in the form of a youth football coach, Frank Walker, who eventually took LeBron into his home so he could go to school, have meals, and focus on sports. With support, stability, and a chance, LeBron transformed. From homeless child to high school phenom to the most hyped prospect in NBA history. At 18 years old, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, the chosen one. And somehow, he lived up to it. LeBron went from absolute nothing to becoming arguably the greatest basketball player ever. Kevin Durant grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland, known as one of the roughest basketball environments in America. Raised by a single mother, Wanda, Kevin grew up surrounded by drug activity, crime, and constant struggle. His father left when he was a toddler, and for years, Wanda worked multiple jobs at once just to keep the lights on. KD started playing basketball on cracked outdoor courts with bent rims and no nets. Those courts built his toughness. But behind his calm personality was a kid dealing with fear, instability, and a desperate desire to make life better for his mother. That moment became his fuel. When KD won MVP years later, he looked at her and said, "Mom, you're the real MVP." From poverty in PG County to two-time Finals MVP to one of the greatest scorers the game has ever seen, Durant didn't just change his life, he changed his family's legacy forever. Derrick Rose's story starts in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America, Inglewood, Chicago. Gunshots, gangs, violence on every block. Derrick grew up with a single mother and 3 older brothers who shielded him from the streets. They made one mission clear: Derrick will not end up like the rest of the neighborhood. But that was easier said than done. Every day, Derrick had to navigate around gang territories just to get to school safely. Basketball was his escape, the only safe place, the only thing that made sense. Rose didn't play for fame, he played to survive. When he reached the NBA, he became the youngest MVP in league history. Despite injuries, adversity, and countless setbacks, Derrick Rose remains one of the most beloved and resilient players the league has ever seen. He went from one of America's most dangerous neighborhoods to becoming a global icon. VJ Edgecombe isn't an NBA star yet, but his story deserves to be told next to the greats. Born and raised in the Bahamas, VJ grew up in a community where opportunities were limited and resources were scarce. His family worked hard but had very little. VJ often trained outdoors on cracked courts, dodging potholes and uneven concrete just to practice his dribbling. Basketball wasn't a hobby, it was his way out. As he grew better, the challenges grew too. VJ faced financial struggles, limited exposure, and the constant pressure of representing his home country. Kids where he's from rarely make it to the highest levels of basketball. The path is too narrow, too uncertain. But VJ was different. With his family behind him and an unbreakable work ethic, Edgecombe earned a scholarship to play high-level basketball in the United States, something incredibly rare for Bahamian athletes. He went from a small island gym to national recognition to becoming one of the top prospects in the country. His story is still being written, but if his journey proves anything, it's that greatness can come from anywhere. These players came from homelessness, from poverty, from violence, from hunger, from nothing. But they all had one thing in common: they refused to quit. Someone watching this right now might be living a story just like theirs. Remember this: where you start is not where you have to finish.